At the summit of the Brazilian media oligarchy stand the Marinhos, the richest family in the country and the owners of Globo. Globo's conglomerate beams out programming nationwide, from the Amazon in the north to Iguaçu Falls in the south. And its flagship newscast, Jornal Nacional, is an agenda-setting, broadcasting institution.
It was Globo that put thousands and thousands of people in the streets to demonstrate against President Dilma.
Na cobertura do esporte, vamos falar das manifestações que acontecem pelo país.
That's political, not journalistic work. It acted like a political party.
And Globo is more than a national TV network. In addition to its 122 regionally affiliated TV stations, it owns radio networks and a 24-hour news channel. It distributes other broadcasters' channels on its own satellite, in addition to owning the newspapers that gave the company its start back in 1925. There's a well-known political maxim here in Brazil that sums up just how powerful, how influential Globo has become. It goes like this: if Globo doesn't show it, it didn't happen.
Jornal Nacional is without any doubt the highest quality news program in the country. It is also extremely conservative, both politically and socially. There are also numerous examples of politicians having timed specific decisions and speeches so that they might appear on Jornal Nacional on the same day.
Boa tarde, Renata. Boa tarde a todos. Havia uma grande expectativa em torno deste pronunciamento do presidente Michel Temer.
Jornal Nacional remains the most significant national media power associated with political power.
Associado ao poder político.
Quando a gente pensa que a internet hoje...
Consider for a moment that only 50% of Brazilians have internet access and that the remaining 50% are the poorest of the population. You can understand why television has become the most important information source. Globo is the most significant economic and political player in the industry, not only because it's the most watched and farthest reaching, but also because it's the media group that has been most favoured by the Brazilian state throughout history.
Globo and the military government that took power in Brazil in a 1964 coup had a symbiotic relationship. Globo backed that coup and supported the military dictatorship right through until 1985.
All you need to do is read the headlines of the O Globo newspaper from the days following the coup. They were celebrating the fall of a constitutional government, of an elected government. They supported the coup.
The military government put their support behind a media group that was still growing. And they facilitated that growth, partly by providing public funds and partly by not imposing any rules against the concentration of ownership.
In 2013, almost 30 years after the end of military rule, Globo apologized for backing the coup, but not for its coverage of the regime that followed.
E há também o reconhecimento de erros, como o apoio editorial ao golpe militar de 1964.
And Globo produced some of its most infamous journalism during that 21-year period. In January 1984, hundreds of thousands of demonstrators took to the streets of São Paulo demanding a return to democracy. Globo could not ignore the story, but instead of reporting the facts, it told its viewers that what they were watching was a celebration.
Festa em São Paulo. A cidade comemorou seus 430 anos com mais de 500 solenidades.
In 1989, in Brazil's first national election in more than 2 decades, a debate took place between Globo's favored candidate, Fernando Collor, and the leftist candidate, Lula da Silva. Actually, there were 2 debates, the one that really happened and the version Globo edited heavily and put on the air.
The way the debate was edited was one of the biggest scandals in Brazilian television history.
Reveja agora alguns momentos do debate.
It showed the best of Collor and the worst of Lula.
Está uma candidatura que esposa teses estranhas ao nosso meio, teses marxistas.
After some time, Globo's owners became disenchanted with Collor, and so they campaigned to get him impeached.
Que levou ao impeachment do Collor.
No caso do Grupo Globo,
it's not only Globo, it is also true of all the other mainstream media groups that they have been aligned historically with politically conservative interests that defend the status quo, supporting the interests of the dominant elite in Brazil. If you make a historical analysis, they continue to act the same, representing the same interests.
That's what many Brazilians saw in the movement that brought down President Dilma Rousseff last year. Globo and other like-minded media groups campaigning to overthrow a democratically elected government.
O ritmo das bombas políticas que estão caindo sobre Brasília é ritmo quase diário.
A counter-movement against media outlets with political agendas was born. Globo's reporters in the field were confronted with accusations of backing a coup.
Com esse pedido de prisão.
A golpe in Portuguese. At the same time, a term was popularized. Media outlets were called Partido da Imprensa Golpista, which translates to Party of the Pro-Coup Press. We contacted Globo to give the company a chance to respond to its critics. It chose not to. Globo does have its competitors, all of them owned by wealthy families or individuals. However, plurality in media ownership here has failed to deliver a plurality of views. Media owners in Brazil are, without exception, white and conservative. They compete for audiences, but do so mostly from the same political and social points of view.